So we can start the open mic now. And if people, I have 4 or 5 names so far. So if anyone else wants to join in, just put your name in the chat and I'll take it down in the order in which you put it in. So the first one is Nicko Kim, because Nicko has to leave early. Nicko.
Hey. Oh, hey.
Yeah, you're on now.
Oh, okay.
If we can have your song.
Sure. I won't sing the song because it'll take away from the very limited short time that I have. So I'm going to start with a poem called Bacchus. It's a limerick and the only one that I have memorized, so the other ones you may not see my face. I'm not looking for a vice to alter or escape my reality. I'm looking for a device to alter or I'm looking for a device or alter to supplement my sustenance as I chase immortality. But a vice is a vice, and one will always pay the price when enticed by the dice of self-actuality.
Wow.
Okay. So, I don't know who's talking over me, but it's whatever. Matted Maenads, Dionysus. Bro, how can you say you're so woke when all you do in your waking hours count sheep? It's like the peak of your existence is to point out people you think are intellectually weak. A fat piece of ironic gold is that basic bitches who hold such a base perspective think they're so grounded when in actuality they're more disconnected to the world around them than those in the ground dead. But because you think you've transcended via some dimeth trip to meaning, after finding yourself at the bottom of a bottle, you whine like Dionysus. I can't believe the colors you chose to dye your knees with, or that you've even chose to die on your knees because you were told to from a diocese. You considered faith a disease and scoff at those who believe in a meme that's been around since Mesopotamia and ancient civilization in the Nile. But all the while, you put your faith and belief into nothing and denial. Nietzsche laughs at the peach fuzz growing on your internal guru. So when it's down to you and me, I will still be on my knees, not bowing to you as my Lord, rather bowing to your good grace, because if it is your choice to erase me from existence, I would rather force myself into your life than allow you to force the cessation of mine. You needn't mind your P's and Q's or dot your I's and cross your T's. But when all bacchanalian cease, maybe then you'll finally learn how to properly employ your ABCs. Last quick one. Tiny Apple, Big City, May 2020 be in our hindsight. Arrogant assholes always avert and besmirch benevolent bargaining by belittling it as babbling begging. Chivalric? Comedic. Chauvinistic common conmen carrying convoluted dysphonisms dig deep, denying defiant deviancy. Expediencies expected, yet expressed expectations are exceeded egregiously. Fleeting and fearful forces face fantastic fire forthwith. Gods getting goaded greatly greet humanly hubris hastily. I too have insisted in indicating intense injury, jeering at jagged justice justifiably. Killing clansmen with knowledge and kindness. Looting, minds miss niceties, no, necessities opening Pandora's proverbial parcel, preventing pragmatic progress quite quickly, retarding rhetorically righteous regression retroactively, simultaneous suspension of sustenance escalates tensions. Thirstily, he is tossed uncivilly. Unceremonious victories achieved by such vindication veer from virtue, while whining winners, xanthic xenophobes, yell about years of yesteryear like zealots, zealously sipping Zinfandels.
Thanks, Nicko. Hope you'll be back again some other time. I love the Bacchanalian one. I love your pace as well. Reading pace is lovely, properly pitched and everything. Very professional.
Thank you. Just to let you guys know, I'm a poetry slam champion out of El Paso, Texas, as well as a published poet. It was a pleasure being here. Thank you for allowing me to be here.
Explains the pace and the professionalism. Very important for slams. Now, the next person I have here is Therese Bertsch, our winner from the poetry.
Gee, thank you. Well, you're going to hear the whole poem now.
Good.
Communion of Saints. My voice was not heard, and the murmured rebuke spun out of my mind like some kind of whirling dervish spinning without the relief until that space was exhausted by grief. Yes, anger only mobilizes and flings the sting of that which is dread of death, after all, carrying loss and finally taking wing, shaping it into some other thing. The magic of the cosmos is there. I do not preach about this hope, no, but I say, it says, it is within reach, where each is promised eternally, not just relief up in the air, but a grandfather sitting up in a chair. No, we explode as love implodes, carrying us to a beauty never known, where love alone is the foretaste, and we become one. No, never losing who we are or what we do, as we too, fueled by the erotic urge, as we come into our own, we are grown into a final resting place? Oh no. That failed idea must be replaced, reshaped to speak the truth of endless participation with a renewed imagination, inspiring and intersecting in those lives, still striving for completion. We too seek in this life a blessing, no longer an inspiration, but endless love and space that calls us all to engage in that place. We need to speak not of pie in the sky. We need to envision a cosmic life calling each to see it is within reach, leaving beyond the different kind of vision for children. Tell this story, yes. As we confess, we cannot hold just how life will unfold. Yes, I am serious. Faith plunges us into this experience, and always a risk, not quiet bliss. Light the campfire in your hearts, for this creator mystery, this love, is everywhere, and in the here and now in everything, never apart, leading us to our destiny. We strive through grief while we engage in love and joy in many things, until the day foreshadowed now appears, and love accompanies us through our fear, each slipping through the egg that cracks within our earthly womb, just to find it is not a tomb at all. As love has called us and engaged us, a love that always was, and the direction is not above.
Therese, thank you. That's very lyrical. It's
Thanks.
a journey throughout life. It's very philosophical as well.
Yeah,
really
thanks.
good. Now our next poet is Colm Scully, a member of Ovale, and he makes beautiful poetry films. So Colm.
Thanks, Margaret. I'll just bring it up here now. Just before the meeting, I was trying to think of poems I had, any phone poems I had, and I couldn't think of any, but I just thought of one then. So it's called Lament for Padraig Pearse, and it's actually a phone poem I wrote 4 years ago. On the 100th anniversary of 1916, there's a lot of international people on, so I just explained that. So 1916 was the Irish Revolution. We called it the Roisin, and I wrote this at the time, I suppose, for the anniversary. And it's a part phone poem conceived out of translations of the Battle of Moytora from early Irish manuscripts, and from the eulogy of Colm, St. Colm from the Book of the Down Cow. So it's taking the style of and some words as well from these medieval manuscripts, and it's a kind of a potted history of Ireland, because that's the style they have. They're like mythologies, historical mythologies of ancient Ireland. So here goes. It's called Lament for Padraig Pearse. Would that I were young again, but I am nearly done, with but one story to tell. I tell this island's tale from a braver time, when Niall was king and brought Patrick by force into this land, and golden page followed golden page of history, until deep rancor came upon us, when Gael fought Gael, and no high king could be decided on. Then Dermot called on the great lord Henry of England. He in turn implored the Normans, who dwelt in Wales, perfecting the arts of chivalry. The Normans came in a great fleet to seize it from the Gaels. They burned their boats on the beach so as to have no thought of escape. They made an alliance with Leinster, and Dermot gave his daughter Aoife in marriage. But the Normans oppressed the people and allowed the English to extract tribute. The Gaelic chiefs were made to carry firewood, and the Dagda, king of the fairies, to build tower houses. The people complained and called upon them to surrender. They asked for a respite of 7 centuries, which was granted under guarantees. But the Normans sent envoys to the land of the Saxon to raise an army. Henry, king of the Isles and of all the English, assembled his host from Wales westward, and they made a bridge of ships from Anglesey to Ireland. Never came to Ireland a host more horrible than that host. They held sway in the land for the agreed time, destroying the old Gaelic ways, until Padraig again raised the sword of light against them. The rampart of Niall was not silent. The great sorrow was not the lamentation of a single plain. A great cry was heard when we knew that Pearse was without life. 100 years have gone since that last battle, but it is a dangerous time. Once more we argue among ourselves. Beware of those envious of power who might invite the help of allies from the east.
That's amazing, Colm, for a phone poem. Did you write that in 2016 on the centenary?
Yeah, 2016.
Amazing. I love it.
Nice, thank you.
Now, the next person on my list is John F. McMullen. And John, is it your first time at DeBarra's spoken word?
Yes, it is.
Where are you from? Where are you zooming from?
I'm from Jefferson Valley, New York, was in County of Westchester, in New York State. And I heard about this, as did other people here, from Bryan.
Oh, good. You're very welcome.
Yes. So this is, if I get back to page, I just lost my place as I was listening. Wait a minute. I took out my bookmark, and then I got into talking. So
It happens.
I have it, page 169. Okay, this first poem may offend just about everyone. Irish voice. I used to get angry, or at least perturbed, when my wife of Philadelphia birth and German Polish heritage, that was a nasty combination of which neither family approved, but the union produced a goddess who referred to me as Irish. I'm not Irish, I would bellow, I'm American. The Irish killed each other for religious reasons, used the feast of a Catholic saint as an excuse to get drunk and foolish, as if they needed an excuse, and were just generally disreputable. I refused to wear green on St. Patrick's Day and generally disavowed my heritage. I knew little of this heritage other than the fact that the British had overrun them and made them part of the empire, but they have done that to the Canadians, Australians, and Indians, and they hadn't become objects of jokes and ridicule. I didn't understand the difference between the Revolution and the Civil War. In short, I might as well have been a Brit. Of course, I grew up in an Irish Catholic neighborhood. Thank my maker for my four grandparents got the boat in Ireland, dragging all the bars, to listen to Ruthie Morrissey sing songs of rebellion at Mickey Carton's Mayo House in Rockaway, and behave like all the rest of the mix. It was only when I began to read the poetry and literature of Moore, Synge, Yeats, and Thomas that I began to feel the culture that already flowed through my veins. When I read Bernadette Devlin's writing of the present day economic inequities, my anger boiled. And when I read the works of the McCourts, I began to understand from whence I came. So if you're not Irish, I respect your heritage, but I'm sorry for your troubles.
That's wonderful, John.
This may only relate to people from my side of the pond, but I'm sure people have heard of this woman, all over the world. The 4th of Georgia. I don't know anyone who lives in Georgia's 4th congressional district, but I kind of have questions. Was there a hurricane or a typhoon that held down election day turnouts under 10 and allowed a woman who did not even live in the district to become your representative in the United States Congress? The woman who said that the NAACP is the black KK, only more violent and dangerous. Nancy Pelosi is guilty of treason, a crime punishable by death. The Las Vegas and Parkland school shooting were false flag shootings staged by gun control proponents. Jewish laser beams from space may have started California wildfires. The election of the first two Muslim women to Congress represented an Islamic invasion into our government offices. As I wrote above, I don't know anyone who lives in the 4th district, but I have another question for those who do. What the fuck is wrong with you people? And the last one, pandemic morality. After careful reflection, I've decided that if you don't wear a mask, you are putting people's lives at risk, and you should be arrested. If you don't take the vaccine, you are a parasite depending on others to reduce herd immunity and should be ostracized. If you are a stop the steal person, you are disillusional and possibly dangerous and should receive mental health. Judgmental? Nah, I don't think so. What do you think? Thank you very much for putting up with me.
Thank you very much, John, for being here. I love those. And apparently, I've just been informed, you're the Poet Laureate of Yorktown, New York.
That's
so
correct.
We're privileged and honored to have you among us.
That and $2 will get me on the subway.
Yes. So the next person I have on my list is Generalissimo Bryan Franco. Bryan.
Well, oy vey, I get to follow the Poet Laureate of Yorktown, New York. Wonder who gave her that information, John. It's my job. Hold on. Okay, we're gonna start off with a poem called Why I Keep a Midwife on Speed Dial. Anger does not always happen as screaming, yelling, stomping of feet, fist clenching, teeth gritting, furrowed brows, tattered nerves. Anger is not always born of aggression. It can be born of hurt and confusion from a womb unaware of the existence of its pregnancy, conceived via an act of deception or betrayal, from a night of passion that foreshadowed a proposal of forever but materialized into a morning after that transformed into an insidious, compartmentalized ghost. Anger is not always loud. Anger can exist in silence and stagnation. Anger may not have hard edges that cut and bruise all who come in contact with it. It can be soft. It can be amorphous, made of quicksand, encompassing its host in suspended animation, causing phantom paralysis till whoever owns it realizes the phantom is a phantom, a figment of an emotion or a feeling or a reaction to a life event or events that happened in the past that is exactly what it is, the past, which can't exist in the present or future due to the fact that the past can only exist in the past. Then the anger starts to shed its skin to reveal a hollow inside that is a breath long held, now exhaled and let go. The next poem is A Most Honorable Warrior's Death. So many poetry people I know have said poetry has saved their lives. The same story is told in a million different voices around the world. Poets are warriors. Poets are fighters. Poets are Olympic pugilists. Our enemies, our nemesis, our sparring partners are simultaneously our mirrors and our past. Our present tense existences are fleeting moments in which we contemplate lives, decisions, relationships, families. Our words run through veins to hearts and through nerves to brains. We spit them out as poetry, exposing them to the elements, sending them to a glorious death memorialized on page to be read both out loud and in silence, not only by us, but also others who have experienced pieces of our lives in their separate lives. Our epitaphs become their epitaphs. Our poetry is a graveyard that transforms death into life. And finally, whirlwind. Hold on. When a relationship starts as a whirlwind, autumn leaves can be blown in concentric circles, creating rainbows that never existed before. All winds eventually die down. All hurricanes have eyes that exist in total calm while surrounded by unbridled chaos. Once they make landfall, they slow, but they incite flooding till they wither out. People in love will inevitably discover aftermath debris from lovers' past storms. More than often, that debris shapes the parts of who someone is that we fall in love with. It is the discovery of invisible scars that should be ugly, but instead shine like diamonds inside lumps of coal, waiting for the right person to understand that just because we get a little coal dust under our fingernails when clawing our way past the whirlwind, the previous storms we weathered create our ability to love more thoughtfully. Thank you.
Thank you, Bryan. As always, you're like a psychologist. A very good advice in all of those, and especially the one about anger. I think that will have a resonance with everyone.
Thank you, then.
Very insightful. Now, next we have Marissa Prada. And Marissa, I was so hoping you'd be back this month.
Really? Oh, I'm so glad to be here. Thank you, Margaret, so much.
We're delighted to have you.
Okay, so I'll read a new poem, and I wrote this in a workshop a couple of weeks ago, so I figured I would honor the workshop process and read a poem that came out of a workshop. And if you would like a second one, I will read a second one for you. The title of this poem is Original Sin. Authenticity used to be a commodity I day traded at night. It wasn't because I enjoyed being sliced up and served deli style for any hungry stomach request to be consumed straight from a greasy paper bag after a long drive-through line, staunch exhaust, then on to the next. Authenticity used to be something that never belonged to me because nothing belonged to me. Everything was taken one item at a time, boxed up and shipped off without saying goodbye. No tears to even cry because I knew nothing of myself. What I had lost, what was patiently waiting for me. So how could I possibly be authentic if I was an 80s person's missing report? If I kept covering my head with comforter covers as footsteps of fate began to creak down the hall, when friends would find out I was not good enough to be their friend. When family members dismembered my love and killed the quiet child inside, so I continued to hide beneath my sheet. Neat was never a forte of my growing up girl. Everything was messy. Everything is still messy, but neatly organized messy. At least I know where my messy bits are, what goes where, what that button does, which lever to pull to depants insecurities, shame, the shame of not finding myself earlier. For authenticity has always been threaded through the holes of my bones. It stitched my ribcage again and again when I send my love for this life out. Avoid being snuffed out, stuffed with polyfill fiber, this old teddy bear body, built by poetry, red wine and whiskey, great sex and pure joy. Ask me anything. What you see is what you get. I can carry you for a bit while you connect with the inner child inside. For I got me, and I got you until you have you. Then we can move towards the first date with our authentic selves. So that came out of a workshop.
It's unbelievable, Marissa. Did you write that at the workshop just instantly?
I wrote that in the 10 minutes that I had to write.
It's very moving. That's so, you have a facility with words and the speed. That
I type really fast. I type very fast.
You have a second one.
I have a second one that I could definitely read you. I think this one might have even come out of a workshop too. It's titled The Welcome Mat. I welcome the 86,400 seconds in a day this time, for time to tick away, slough away again today. For a time I will not fight these tears over you. I welcome the 1,440 minutes in a day this time. The tiny hands of time tames a future that does not know you or me or us or then or now. I welcome the 24 hours of dry eyes and humanity that has yet to find me. Pick me up from this cold tiled floor, Davy Jones's locker of my heart, tight-lipped in braille. A heart beats 100,000 times a day, over 35 million times a year, more than 2.5 billion times in a lifetime. How many beats were wasted wanting you, calling your name, fluttering to your voice or footsteps to your door? Just how many beats are begging to be felt again? The vibrations vicious enough to call beyond you, cry beyond the rubble you so carelessly called complete. Yes, you will find me found by another, since I was never yours to tether. Never yours, never yours, never yours again.
Very powerful, Marissa. Very powerful, as always. And your delivery, oh, you're a great performer.
And thank you, Lauren, for doing the workshop too. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Next, we have Nick Smith, who is the founder of DeBarra's Spoken Word. We wouldn't be here but for Nick.
Can you hear me all right?
Yes, perfectly.
Yeah.
Nick.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Margaret. Found poetry is a genre that I've never tackled at all. So when the subject was coming up, I was thinking, well, okay, found poetry. And I was sitting looking at a record list on Spotify of a particular album that I was going to play. And I looked at it and I said, well, there's the found poet, the found poem. It just needed linking together. So this is a bit light, but it's called Remastered. And I must say as well, thanks very much for the inspiration from the master of all found poems from pop songs, and that's Stan Knott, who's absolutely brilliant at these. So this is my first venture into that whole realm. Remastered. Roll up, roll up. I'm inviting you to come with me on a magical mystery tour. I know many of you will have heard it said that I am the fool on the hill, especially as I'm taking you on a flying trip with no aviatory experience or device other than a blue jay way up in the bluey blue skies. I'm only the pilot. She's our guide. She's waiting on you to stretch your feathers and take a fanciful flight. Before we take off, lest anything untoward should come to pass, I think your mother should know of your intentions, because I am no airman, don't even have a license, but I do have my own star sign. I am the walrus, a blubbery waddler with prominent molars, prone to lying around. I have the propensity to confuse. I can say, hello, goodbye, and you wouldn't know whether you were coming or going. On the way back, we shall stop at the strawberry fields, forever enriched with fruity juicefuls of nibblers. When your punnets are full, we shall set off for the last leg, for those who have but one to stand on, arriving at Penny Lane by nightfall. Make sure you have your tuppences, threepences and parting gifty bags. Come back down when you're ready and safe home on your onward journeys. My clients' testimonials say, baby, you're a rich man. My uneccentric neighbours think different. I don't care. The proof of the dream is in the awakening. I say, all you need is love, and you can fly wherever you want to, or you can beetle around down here and go nowhere, man. So roll up, roll up. There you
That's
have
a fun one, Nick. I love the fun in it.
it.
Really light and uplifting.
Thanks, Margaret.
Now, I have put in on the chat there that Dave Lorden, a poet and educator in Ireland, he lives in Dublin. He's put on a new course, Writing Your First Poetry Collection. And he has a lot of poetry collections published. He's a long time in the trade and he knows his stuff. So his email is there if you want to save the chat. And in addition to that, anyone that would like a copy of John Bevis's primer and also Lauren's presentation on PDF, if you give me your email, we'll put it into the mailing list and you'll be kept up to date with future events as well for DeBarra's spoken word. So now next we have Sebastien. Sebastien, how do you pronounce your second name? Is it Revon?
It's if I say in French, it's Sebastien Revon.
I won't attempt it. Sebastien will do.
Oh, you can, you know, I've been 12 years in Ireland, so I'm Sebastien now.
Exactly, that's it.
Yeah, so I usually write haiku, but recently I discovered I don't have a big culture in poetry, in fact. So I just discovered that recently the type of poetry or the genre or form of poetry called the pantoum. I wrote my first pantoum in French a month ago or so, and I wanted to translate it in English, but it was a very hard task. So I got a big help from a man called Bryan Smith, who is in a poetry forum that I know, and that's the translation of it. So it's called The Pier. A starry sky is shining on the first day of New Year. In solitude, I'm chanting, facing eastward on the pier. On the first day of New Year, not a soul accompanies me. Facing eastward on the pier, I wait for sleep to overcome me. Not a soul accompanies me on the slow path of return. I wait for sleep to overcome me, cradled by the birds around. On the slow path of return, alas, time is deadly. Cradled by the birds around, how futile is my misery. Alas, time is deadly. In solitude, I'm chanting, how futile is my misery. A starry sky is shining. That's it.
Thanks, Sebastien. Obviously, is French your first language? Obviously, not English. It always amazes me that your English is so good. It's just perfect.
Thank you.
Now, I have 3 more left on the list, so if there's anyone that would like to read that hasn't already, let me know. Ada Miles next. Ada?
Oh, that me? Oh my God.
Yeah.
All right, this one is a short poem, and I was just thinking about my thinking and realized I use repetitions a lot, and I decided to put on a page just the way they really come in my head, or almost. Of course, for the poetry reasons, I edited a bit. So I was in doubt, and this is how it happens. I really don't know at all if at all can ever be at all, the way it all should at all be. And then the second thought, I probably know perhaps, it probably won't even try perhaps. I think I know that, I think perhaps. The third thought, it seems to me though it seems to me that it won't perhaps, it may perhaps even be, it seems turning for the better, looks like. And the final is, after all, perhaps I really don't know at all the way it all at all should it all be. That's it. Thank you.
Thanks, Ada. I'll be thinking perhaps in a different way now in future. The word perhaps, great use of it. Next is Roisin.
Yeah, hi everyone. So I got a poem called The Curator. And it's here somewhere, and I've found it now. Sorry. So it's called The Curator. I will be the curator of what you lost. I will build a fine museum to exhibit your life's work. I will pick up the things that you forgot, ornate them, invite the right crowd, art collector, investor. There, a hair from your head on that brush, encase it, frame it in golden dust. And here, a breath you mislaid, paraded in a glass jewelry box, hand cut for a connoisseur, a gift to humanity, your final launch. That blood spot on your handkerchief, siphon it off, hang it as a centerpiece. Your expiration I will flay on piano keys, so only your music plays. The punters are free, no dis-ease. Your heart, what of that? Wrap it up in muslin, steady it, cradle it, lull it, lie it in a rocking chair until it sways still. Your tears I will preserve with the dewdrops of fern fronds. The eyelash that fell when you closed your eyes, I will illuminate with the sun until death is undone. I will be the curator of what you lost. I will build a fine museum to exhibit your life's work, but I will not place the red dot. I will keep the lot. I will be the curator of what I lost.
Thanks, Roisin. That was wonderful. Amazing imagination you have. And now to round off the evening, we have Max.
Okay, I was just trying to think what I do that suited found poetry. So, do you mind if I just do a 5-word challenge, and I might do a little short song then? I think the 5-word challenge we do is the ultimate found poetry, because you get these crazy words and you'd never find these people that you find. So the word one night in 2018 was retrograde. And all I could think of was Retro O'Grady, became a person, and practice, chieftain, chicken, ethnic. So I found this guy, he wouldn't stop. So Retro O'Grady. Retro O'Grady, they called him then, maintained his hoary ethnic identity, practiced reels daily on his clap mandolin, fancied himself the chieftain of Harlem, always operated a 60s sound system modem. Oh, they're no match for me, he'd say. Those chicken tribesmen with their foreign notions. No placid public can hold sway over my stack of barley. There in his garret, on his beanbag, complete and retro chic. Plastic chairs, orange, cubist. Retracted pupils from last night's Coors Light. Was it the cocktail he copied again from the James Bond film? Practiced retropulsion, his black shoe shuffle. Retroversion, always kept one eye behind him. Until one day, the need of a G-up for propulsion, he projected himself on and found himself ahead of time, way too fast to win the flacciole of Harlem. Retro O'Grady left behind with his windshield wipers clapping time like Bobby McGee, way behind on the winning stakes records. So now selling vinyl. That was retrograding. And this song is a kind of a strange little song because I went to a Claire Keegan workshop and she's amazing. She's full of these little sound bites of how to write the short story. So after 3 days, I said I did an A4, and it's kind of her words a little bit that you can only go one way and the time doesn't go back. It's a short little, very potty song, if I can remember it. I'm trying to remember it now. And it's called A Recipe for Clarity. Here's clarity. Move out gently from the quiet woods of Wicklow, shed bagage over seas of porcupine, shed the table by the sandbag before circling Atlanta, seek out southern bells with pretty chimes, squeeze the acerbic twists of cynical savannah, but don't ring the melodrama through your hands. With clinical precision, apply temporal reason, excise a tiny slice of some life pie. This slice of life pie must be slender. Footsteps fall one way, they cannot return to sender. Reluctantly begin to tell the story is a sin. Each sensory detail will seal the package in. But beware that gamey eye, 'twill cause havoc, why desire? There's passion in the aftermath, an open mail, the missing cat. True horror is concealed, best not show or tell that. Just beware that gamey eye, 'twill cause havoc, why desire? It's a recipe for clarity. Your Clegan's clarity, a recipe for clarity. That's my reflective note.
The recipe for clarity is right. We could all learn that.
Wasn't very clear.
I have one more poet to round off the evening, in fact, and I had missed the title in the list. So Catherine Ronan is next.
Hi everyone.
Hi.
I'm writing a series of poems at the moment about the last witch or changeling that was burnt in Ireland, Bridget Cleary. And this poem grew out of a workshop with Matthew Geedon, where the theme was reincarnation. So I call the poem Bridget Cleary Returns. When dreams die, nightmares appear, surrounded by the ignorant, weak, moss-bellied labourer. Fingers click invisible. You will take the thread from here, spin a mystical shroud in dawn words. Pockets deep speak. I raise my crumbling fingers from black raven fire, write music on your sheets. When you hear me, you will know me. My dear, you are me.
Catherine, that's amazing.
Thanks, Margaret.
Very profound stuff and very succinct as well. Absolutely lovely one to end the proceedings on. So that just, Mose, do you want to say anything?
Let's unmute. Yeah, I would like to thank everyone, especially the people giving presentations, the people at the open mic, the people presenting, the people here listening. I also want to say it's interesting because Catherine just mentioned Matthew Geedon, and we are quite a few of us are disciples of Matthew Geedon, I think, or at least doing workshops with him and really profiting from it. And he will be the next guest at our session on the 10th of March. What he will do is still shrouded in mystery. Hopefully he will do some sort of workshop. I can really recommend it, and we'll publish on the Facebook page. And if you want to be kept updated of our sessions, as Margaret said before, please leave your email in the chat if you're not there. And I want to ask also people who are on the open mic and who may not be friends of DeBarra's spoken word on Facebook. If you befriend us, it will be easier because we've recorded this and we're going to publish it on the YouTube channel. So you could meet yourself on YouTube if you're at the open mic. Thank you very, very much. Thank you, DeBarra's spoken word in Clonakilty, and hopefully thank you, Cork Art Office. Okay, good night. It was a lovely session and really moving, and hope to see you again next month. Thank you.